Cleveland faithful, welcome on in. Browns postgame show, Cavs pregame show. We already got people rolling in. MZC, Jake D, what's going on? Browns win 27-0, and this box score, I don't even know. I don't even know where to start with this box score. I thought that the Titans game, it wasn't going to get any crazier than that, and they did it again today. Now, granted, you're playing Clayton Tune, you're playing this Cardinals team, worst team in the league. Clearly, you saw it today. 58 total yards, 58 total yards of offense. So let's start out with some game balls. Clearly, the Cleveland Browns defense gets the game ball. That's the easiest one of them all. Look at the numbers up on the screen. 1.2 yards per play. That's like that's I don't know if that's I've never even seen that before. So, Browns defense gets the game ball. James Prochet played game. Is that his first name? Prochet? James Prochet. He played good today. Brought him up. Played for the Ravens. He returned punts today. I thought he was good. Thought he was great, actually. At the end of the day, gave us some good field position. There was a couple of penalties that kind of negated what we wanted to do at the end of the day. But yeah, good punt returning, good punting in general. As far as Bajorquez, thought that he was good, had some good punts today. Some could have been a little bit, more dialed in. But overall, the offense played good enough to win. Deshaun Watson plays above average football, and I think that that's going to be your storyline for the whole game. I mean, outside of the defense, Deshaun Watson plays good enough to win you the game. We've seen it the last 3 weeks with PJ Walker, and this is where I kind of want to dial in this point really solidly to start off this live. If you give us average quarterback play against an offense that we scheme for and that we play good defense to great defense to elite defense against, we're going to be very difficult to beat. What did I like? I like that we did not turn the ball over today. That was cool. That was a lot better than what we've seen with PJ Walker. We're close in these previous games with PJ Walker. You should have won the game last week with PJ Walker. You beat San Francisco with PJ Walker, and you beat Indianapolis with PJ Walker for the most part. Now, I would be a little bit more concerned about Watson if he threw the intermediate to the short ball good today and all the long passes looked terrible, I would be genuinely concerned about it. Complete opposite. I don't know what it is, but he looks like a stud throwing the ball downfield. I'm not sure why Kevin Stefanski didn't go to that more often after we saw the big play in the first half to Cooper, but that's fine. That's whatever. The intermediate to the short passes, something's just not right. Him rolling to his right is not gonna cut it. They need to try to limit that. I'm sure he does a lot of that off schedule, off script himself, but he has a hard time rolling out. And when his feet aren't set, the football gets delivered really poorly. Okay, let's go through some people in chat. Jake D. Fellas, feels like my soul is freed from a 1,000-year prison and allowed to take a hot shower. First, I needed that. Jeff, I can calmly watch the Cavs now tonight. Good luck. Playing Golden State, we're going to talk about them the second half of the broadcast. Good luck being calm tonight with the Cavs. I think we needed this as Cleveland fans, though. 27-0, never a doubt. Let's roll 5-3 into Baltimore next week. Yeah. Mike, welcome on in. Jerome Ford, high key mid. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. For all the let's run the ball people out there, it's actually incredible how we are running the ball with this, trio of guys. And that's not a slight to these guys. Jerome Ford is in his second year. Kareem Hunt, we just got him off the couch a month ago. Dude was unemployed. Pierre Strong, Bill Belichick didn't even want him. That's all you need to know. Not a great run blocker as far as protecting the quarterback. That's why he doesn't play very much. You see him on special teams. He's good. I think he's a runner who could go north and south. Ford's more your east and west kind of guy. Kareem does a little bit of both. And we go on with our life. But you have injuries. We're going to talk about them. You got, tackles being hurt. Dwan Jones isn't 100%. Looks like Will's, early reaction might be out for the rest of the year. Hopefully it's just a sprain. He's playing decent football as far as the totality of the season. Amari Cooper doesn't look 100% healthy. We know we just got Deshaun Watson back. We're a little bit thin on the cornerback position, but it doesn't really much matter because we're so stacked over there with guys like Denzel Ward, obviously, another stud game. You have Martin Emerson Jr., didn't even call his name because they don't even want to throw his way. He's that good, being a young player. Greg Newsome, obviously, out. Now Cameron Mitchell with the shoulder injury. So we'll monitor some injuries this week. It's going to be what we have to do because Baltimore's been going through injuries all year long, and I think that might be the final point of this little opening barrage of talking points. This is cool and all, and I'm in for the 27, nothing victory. You pitch a shutout, perfect game for the defense. Watson shows, bright spots. The offense plays, above average, to say the absolute minimum. Could have had some bigger plays. The Goodwin drop, that's another huge play that ball was perfectly placed in my opinion. But this all really doesn't matter outside of the next 2 weeks. This is your tune-up game. This is your, okay, we're a lot better than them. We're at home type of game. But let's talk about it, what it really is. You got Baltimore on the road next week. You already lost to them. As far as I'm concerned, outside of course, Kansas City, I think they're about second in line as far as Super Bowl favorites, unless I'm missing somebody. I got Kansas City at the top because of who they are, who they've been, who their quarterback is, and who their head coach is. I got Baltimore right behind them just because of how they're working through injuries, just because how I thought their defense would be totally dust after some of their players going out, and it just looks better every week. So you have to make this translate to next week. That's number one. Number two is you have a back-to-back divisional opponent matchup. You're playing Pittsburgh at home. At least that game's at home. So if you want to look at the big picture here, the next 3 weeks, we have the Cardinals win. You got to split these next 2 games. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You cannot be 5-5 through 10 weeks. It is not going to cut it because nobody else in the division is going to have more than 5 losses. It's just not going to happen. If you win this week and if you win the next week, you control destiny. As far as I'm concerned, you might be in a tie with both Baltimore and Pittsburgh, but at least you'll be 1-1 against them. You really need to sweep these next 2 games. Is it realistic? Is it possible? For sure. Is it realistic? I'm not certain it's, a good % chance that it's realistic just because of the way both teams are playing. Looks like that Baltimore has never been playing better football all year. The Steelers are clearly on the uptick. They know how to win games, but they have to come to us. Let's go back to the chat. Prochet being 11 gave me PTSD. Yeah, little creepy. Seeing 11 back there. It wasn't DPJ. Shout out to him. Hope he balls out in Detroit. Just wasn't in the cards as far as him making a roster spot for the rest of the year, going into contract talks into the offseason. Not like he was doing anything. Huge respect for DPJ, though. Shout out to him. Definitely a fan favorite for sure in the Browns uniform. Defense was disgusting today. Shout out to Jonathan for that comment because absolutely was a disgusting performance. There's no other really way to describe it. I'm going to be honest. I mean, it wasn't even like real life. I felt like every play was just tackle for loss, sack, quick play that, the defense just swarmed and got there and did what they needed to do all day long. They weren't giving up any points, and that's how it was all game long. Who else do we got here chilling out, hanging? Hit that like button if you're hanging out, listening to me ramble on. Zachary Hunter, Browns defense hard carry. I don't know. They scored 27 points. Let's just take a deep dive at when I'm hearing about all these, the Browns defense is carrying. Sure, they have the best defense in the league. I don't want to overshadow that. Let's check out these last 3 games for the Browns offense with a mixed bag of personnel, to say a minimum. 27 points today. Okay, the Cardinals not very good. 20 points on the road against the Seahawks. 20 points. I think that's at the bottom end of what you want to be shooting for as far as this Browns offense. Should at least be having 20 points. And then 39 points the week before in Indianapolis. So let's just take the last 3 game sample size, do some quick math for me here. Let's do a quick average of the last 3 games, scoring 28.66 points a game your last 3 weeks. So you tell me, is the Browns defense hard carrying? I'll leave that up to you guys. You guys debate that in the chat. Deshaun looked rusty. His actual ball looked great. I agree. The ball looks fine coming out of his hand for the most part, like I said, except for the short and intermediate throws. And what bothers me about this offense is that why is the screen game so good when Watson is not out there and then it's non-existent when Buddy's on the field? You would think it'd be the total opposite. Aren't defenses more concerned about the deep ball and playing deep and covering, the second, third, and the third of the field defensively when PJ Walker is not out there? Why can we never translate the screen game to when Deshaun Watson is out there? Maybe the tape is out on the screen game because you saw a lot of it last week in Seattle, but I think people misunderstand how Stefanski calls the offense. And I'm not down there with the play sheet. I'm not in the war room, pre-gaming the offensive schematics, but you see a lot of the extremes on one end to set up the other side of the spectrum. What do I mean by that? You see a lot of dinks and dunks early on in this game. In my opinion, I only have a limited view of the field. I don't see the all 22 footage until at least Monday, but you see a lot of, shorter pass plays, dinks and dunks to set up the big plays downfield. That is how good offenses conduct, and you just have to execute on the plays. If you don't execute on these plays today, it's a different game. If Watson can't make throws to Amari Cooper downfield, the first one, kind of a home run ball, kind of easy, should be making that, I'd say 90 times out of 100 minimum. The Goodwin, play, is he not catching that? He's definitely not catching that 90 times out of 100, but he's pretty much open. He high points the ball. He's a shorter guy. He, it was a good defensive play, I thought, as well. The last throw to Cooper, that's where Deshaun Watson makes his money and makes his presence known, because you just never have that sort of threat when PJ Walker is out there. You never have that sort of threat when Dorian Thompson-Robinson is out there. And it's that type of, aura mentality that these defenses have to scheme for. And it's a totally different, wrinkle in this Browns offense. Let's keep it going, though. What's going on here? Oh, whoa. What's happened? Tampa Bay game going on. Heard that game's crazy. Shout out CJ Stroud, Buckeye alum, looking good, having the Texans playing good football down there. Mike, deep ball to Amari was great flash. Old Deshaun absolutely seemed to get his swagger from some of this game. That's all that matters, man. If his confidence is there, I'm confident that we could play anybody close. Do I think that we should be, a home run favorite every single week in and week out, as far as the betting lines, as far as how Vegas wants to perceive us? No. Like this week going into Baltimore, they're going to be the favorites. They absolutely should be. But as far as I'm concerned, if Watson is confident, if Stefanski is confident, if Jim Schwartz is confident, and we're a confident football team, there's really not much more you could ask for. Don't turn the football over, generate turnovers from the opposition, go on with your life. Try to play consistently on the special teams. I know Hopkins misses a field goal today, but does a good job of being able to read the room, because he has what I like to call timely misses. And there's probably no such thing if you're an absolute purist, but that field goal means nearly nothing to us today. He hits them in the big moments. And like I said, that's all you could really ask for. You have good punts when you need good punts, and that sets up the defense. A lot of the special teams play helps or hurts our defense too. If the special team isn't very good, it's going to hang our defense out to dry. If the special teams plays great to elite, the defense looks that much better. You have to play complementary football. You have to have all three facets dialed in as far as going out there and competing in the National Football League. Let's do something let's do something here real quick. Hold on. I've been meaning to do this. Hopefully he's still here, but if John is still in the chat, let me go and find him all the way up here for our I told him I would do this a couple of weeks ago, but John is now a moderator for the Cleveland Pulse in the live stream. Shout out to John, always hanging out here. We got him, making sure that, the chat's doing well, which it always is, but I just wanted to give a shout out there, add another moderator to the squad as far as the Cleveland Pulse and live streams. What's going on here? Mike, looked insane today against Seattle. Yeah, I don't know, man. Their offense is so good. Lamar is not even really, he's impacting the game, but he doesn't even have to score for that offense to look good. They just they're kind of like us. They find these random running backs and just, put them out there and they perform. AFC North game, always anybody's game. Facts, but they look dummy good right now. That's the only way to describe it. probably one of the better ascending football teams in the league outside of Kansas City, team who lost to Denver last week. So, yeah, a lot going on here. I think the AFC North is easily the most competitive division in football. It's normally extremely competitive. This year, it's a different beast. It's a different animal. You have Cincinnati on the rise. You have Mike Tomlin being able to win football games. You have Baltimore playing peak football, and you have us extremely competent on most factors of the football. And we give ourselves a chance to win every game this year. And that's what I don't understand about the doom and gloom of some of the fan base, because you've given yourself a chance to win the football game every week except for the Baltimore game. And we've played 8 games. You've had an opportunity. You've either won the game or you've had an opportunity to win 7 out of the 8 games, and the Baltimore game is your outlier. There's no disputing that. You had the football back with a chance to walk down the field and score against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh on a game where you lost Nick Chubb. Last week, the helmet play, which we got some of that luck back last week or this week. Shout out to that Amari Cooper touchdown. I know Bennett in the chat, MZC, absolutely love that, but that's, extracurriculars going on. However, last week, if the defense gets a stop last week, you win the game. And if you don't have the helmet BS last week, you win the game. If you walk down the field and you score at Acrisure Stadium, against the Steelers, you have a chance to win the game. I don't remember the exact score there, but no, yeah, it was a 3-point game. You have a chance to win the game, 3 or 4 point game. This week, you never had a chance to lose the game. So welcome on in. Welcome on into, never having a chance to lose the game. Lamar not crazy today, though. His standard is so high, though, because of how he is. Only 247 all-purpose yards, and we're calling it not crazy. But I agree, for his standard, he's passed the ball better than that this year, and we've seen him rush the ball better for sure. 0 touchdowns. CJ Stroud, is CJ Stroud, chat, like a dark horse for MVP, or is that a little bit optimistic? I don't really know who you could put up there. Maybe Lamar. Mahomes is always going to be in your conversation, but CJ Stroud definitely going to win Rookie of the Year, 100%. I think, unless something goes crazy and off the rails. Jake D, hate to see Jed go down with an injury like that, but I'm not gonna lie, I think Hudson is a better player. Shout out to James Hudson for I think that's another game ball underrated. Dude was in and out, playing left tackle, playing right tackle, going out for injuries, coming out, doing this, doing that. We know the offensive line is going to be good for the most part, but like I said earlier in the stream, they have to be great these next 2 weeks. We've seen Baltimore's defense give our offensive line fits. Same way with Pittsburgh. We know TJ Watt loves to play us. It's a personalized fact. So you have to play your best football these next 2 weeks. You get a tune-up game this week. You come out of it a little bit unscathed. You have some tackles down. People aren't 100%, but you get Watson on the confident side of throwing the football. Justin, let me send out this link. We could talk Cavs. If anybody else wants to join in and, come up on the screen and talk face to face, you don't even have to put your face up there, but just so we can hear you. If anybody wants the link, I could put it in the description below, but sometimes I throw it in there. Nobody comes and hangs out, and that's fine. I could talk to myself all day, but let me get this link sent over to Justin, just in case he wants to flip-flop over here to the Cavaliers, because they're up next. I'm not sure if we could have 2 Cleveland sports teams really wow us in the same day, but we got a chance to do it. We have an opportunity to be able to do that with the Cavs coming up here in about 90 minutes to play the Golden State Warriors. And I believe that's at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, so that should be a good game. I know that they're kind of on struggle mode, 2-4. We're going to switch over to them, but if chat wants to talk Browns, we'll continue to talk Browns. If chat wants to talk Cavs, we'll talk Cavs. 405 touchdowns. Can somebody get me a CJ Stroud fantasy points update score in the chat, please? Baker legacy drive wrecked by OSU QB. That's right. That's what he gets for planting the flag at the block O, as far as I'm concerned, in the horseshoe while I was there live at that game. That's what he gets. So yeah. No, if you were there, you were there. 42 points. Holy moly. Oh my gosh. 42 points. He is winning fantasy leagues across the nation. If you got them started, somebody tell me that they got CJ Stroud started in their league today. Okay, we're gonna switch over here because I want to talk Cavs a little bit. I think the Browns are kind of a straightforward, type of situation there. I think that defense played elite. Probably the best game they played all year, which is kind of crazy to talk about because you had games like the Tennessee game where you give up less than 100 yards. You have the game against Cincinnati where you give up less than 100 yards to Joe Burrow, I believe. I mean, it's just what can this defense not do? 3 turnovers, turnover from Denzel Ward, turnover from Shelby Harris on the strip sack, Myles Garrett recovers, and a turnover, an interception by a linebacker, Sione Takitaki. I get it. You're playing Clayton Tune. I understand. I'm well aware of the situation and the circumstance, but this is we've lost to teams like this in the past. We've lost to teams with rookie quarterbacks, your Bailey Zappies of the world, and sure, you have a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. It is a absolute, perfect storm as far as I'm concerned to play Arizona, especially at home. Tank Dell and him, 72 points. Oh, my teams can barely score 72 points alone. All right, Jake wants to hop in. I'm throwing the link down in the chat down below. Let me get this link in the chat down below. If anybody wants to hang out, come into the studio. If you click the link, you'll be transported into the studio. Then I have the ability to put you on the screen. You don't have to show your face. You could show your face. I'm excited to talk to Jake. I don't know if we've ever talked to Jake live. I don't believe so, but we're going to do it up right here. Okay, this is going to be the top link in the description. Let me edit this up real quick. Oh no, gotta go get the StreamYard link. Sorry, technical difficulties. Running the stream solo. Hey, here comes my backup.
There it is. What's going on, fellas?
My mind. Talk Browns. Talk Jim Schwartz. Talk anything.
Listen, while Jeff's getting his StreamYard links out for people and getting things rolling as always.
All right, Jake, should be good.
It's a great day to be a Browns fan. I mean, you're sitting at 5-3 now. Obviously, the division still rampant, of course. Everyone
Always.
winning. But 5-3, you get a nice little tune-up game for Watson coming back. Like we talked about, Jeff didn't want to have him come back next week against that, of course, always frustrating Baltimore team. So good win, obviously, a game that you're supposed to go out there, win against whoever the hell the Cardinals had out at quarterback. But obviously they're trying to protect their guy Kyler. Just a great game. Nothing too spectacular on the Cardinals' end of the game. But defensively for us, I mean, God bless it. You got to love. And again, as someone who has never really liked Sione Takitaki, you got to admit, Jim Schwartz, he's brought out the best in so many of these different players and so much of just what we haven't been able to grasp at when Joe Woods was running the show back in the day. And some of these guys were in exile or weren't able to show their capabilities to the fullest. Now you get Denzel Ward playing like he's going to be for the first time, a first-team defensive player. And Sione Takitaki kind of bursting out of his shell into that prime linebacker position. And obviously you got Myles just doing Myles things as always, and just unlocking.
Defensive tackles. This is probably the best defensive tackle performance from the Browns ever.
Oh yeah, and again,
ever.
Those aren't names. The guys, Tomlinson, definitely a bigger name, but nothing out of the ordinary in terms of who he went out and got and acquired at that position. Just I think taking advantage and knowing who's good at what and who's been that kind of staple for having such a good defensive line as of right now. But this is one of those games that you have to take momentum from it. You have to try and build. Because these next 2 games, they're huge. They're AFC games. They're divisional games. And again, you drop either one of these and you're very much out of the contention for the division and are just straight playing for the AFC, wild card. And that's not a scenario that I really want to go down because, of course, then we'll be, just kind of I'm sorry, I lost my track. I saw
Well,
something
hold
out the
on.
window.
While you're losing your track, let's bring Jake D in. Jake D, welcome in from the chat. What's going on, boss? How are you feeling about today's game? Just, let's hear general thoughts from you.
What's good, boys? Good to
Hey, what's
finally
up?
hop in with you guys.
Yes, sir.
Volume okay?
Volume's great. Hear you loud and
Okay.
clear. I see that we're on the phone. It looks like the mobile device with the AirPod in. That's all right. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll hop on my laptop next
No,
time.
you're
My
good.
girlfriend's not feeling so hot today.
You're good.
So I'm down in the clubhouse. But, man, we needed that game. I thought Deshaun's ball looked good coming out of his hands. The velocity was there. I think the strength was there. Would probably like to see him take a few less hits.
For sure. Can he
But I think
slide? It's week 10 and what week is he doesn't know how to slide still.
Right, yeah. And then I think more Hunt as well. I don't understand why at this point he should be in NFL shape. So if he's
Right.
on the roster, then use him. If, at the very least, at least in the pass game on some of those screens. But that ball to Amari was, I don't think I've seen Amari Cooper smile in 2 years on the Browns. And that ball hitting him in stride didn't slow down a step. I think that's huge for the team and Deshaun as well. So overall, I'm happy with the game. I mean, it's the Cardinals, so you take it with a grain of salt. But I think the things that you're looking for to see us improve on, you got to see. And most importantly, you get Deshaun out of there without getting too banged up.
Absolutely. I think you kind of hit on the one, not negative, because there's no negatives in a 27-0, win. But I think it's and it's not. So here's the setup for failure for next week from this game. If we can't run the ball even marginally better next week, and the pass game looks like a mess, well, obviously, like you have to have more complementary football against better teams. And the one thing that I would really just, if I could say, hey, we need to improve from this game to next week, is that you need a guy to step up and be a competent, running back who's going to at least give the essence of a threat on the ground. We did not have that today. If you look at some of these numbers, 20 carries for Ford, and here you go again, Stefanski he kept pounding it. And of course, when you get the big lead, it's easy to say that he could do that, but 34 carries between Ford and Hunt combined, couldn't get over, 100 yards, under 3 yards a carry, both of them on the average. Hunt gets in the end zone perfectly fine. Watson gives you that element that you talked about, Jake. Still can't, slide, taking too many hits in the open field. I don't mind him taking hits in the pocket if it's not like crazy brutal, because I think his deficiencies for where he is right now, whether it's the injury, whether it's the lack of playing time, whether it's the lack of practice reps, his deficiencies are moving outside of the pocket and trying to throw the ball without his feet set. I think he's fine if he moves the pocket himself and he gets his feet set and then throws. And I think he was really good in the pocket today overall, especially with the deep balls. It's that in-between gray area where it's like, he really hasn't been a good quarterback throwing on the run since we've acquired him, pre-injury, post-injury. That's kind of my diagnostic for him. Justin, how do you feel about the play calling today? In general.
Yeah, the play calling was, fine for what it was. Again, Jake, sorry, I missed some of your beginning stuff, but the one thing that I've been able to notice with Deshaun and, the games that we have had him in is we really haven't been able to play complementary football. I went back and I think, the closest game you get to that is maybe the Bengals game. And even then, it's not the greatest of, splits in terms of run pass, but in the Bengals game and the Tennessee game and in this game, it's like one side is kind of lopsided and the other is kind of not benefiting from anything going on the opposite side. So it's tough to really pinpoint like why that is. Like if it's just them trying to get Deshaun back into the system and trying to get him a couple of throws that might not be, necessarily planned or anything. But with Ford and Hunt, I think there's a good tandem there, and we've seen it obviously work well. It's just like, how are we not getting it to mesh at this point in the season to where, like, we can feel comfortable letting Deshaun rip it for 30 times a game while also giving Kareem and Ford, almost 35 touches. I mean, that's impressive in itself. Obviously, like Jeff said, you're winning a game up 27-0 and you get to that point. But it'd be nice if we could get to 25 rushes for 100 yards together next week with,
right.
250 from Watson. That would be an ideal. That'd be probably the closest thing you get to complimentary football in a long time. But still, something that we just have not seen yet with Watson this year.
Absolutely. And it's just like, I think the Titans game, that's still probably your marquee game as far as, offensive output, even though you do score 27 today. And even though you do score 39 against Indianapolis with some help from the defense, but it's just like, even with a average to below average running attack, we could make up for that in other areas. We can make up for it in the pass game, but we can make up for deficiencies all around offensively if we don't turn the ball over. Because if we turn the ball over, if we don't command the starting field position for the opposition, that's a huge difference than what you've seen today, regardless of who your opponent is. Now, if you go out next week, if you have a fumble lost, if you have an interception, a bad interception that gives the Baltimore the ball within field goal range right off the rip, however it may develop, that's a huge difference from what you saw this week, where okay, maybe you only take 1 or 2 shots deep, and that's all you really need to win this game. That's not going to be all you need to win games in the future. That's for certain. But if you could keep a clean football game, I don't even think there was a play today that felt turnover worthy. I might be missing one. I might have missed a play or
I don't
two,
think
but
there was.
I don't think there was, Jake. How do you feel about, let's say this defense plays? Let's start with how the defense played out today. Let's just say the defense plays good to great. The special teams plays good to great, and the offense doesn't turn the ball over. Can we really beat anybody left on our schedule? I think we can.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it was a Didi during the broadcast, depending on which one you guys were watching. We should talk to Stefanski on the sidelines, but they mentioned Kevin saying, the most important thing is Deshaun's protecting the ball. We need to get him hit a little bit less, and we'll be fine. And I think with some of the running, I don't even think that our backs are that bad. I mean, when you watch Ford on successful run plays, I think it's inside run plays. I don't think the stretch runs with him and the read runs with him and the sweeps are good for his style of running. He's not Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb can sit in the backfield for 3, 4, 5 seconds, boom, take off for 10, 15 yards. But that's not Ford, and that's okay. I mean, I think especially early, you saw we were having success. We don't need 15-yard runs. We just need 4 or 5 yards a carry. Just put Deshaun in second and manageable, third and manageable. He's either going to scramble for it or he's going to find someone when the play breaks down because he's just hard to bring down. He has a little bit of that Lamar factor where you're just like, how is this guy still dancing around in the pocket? So yeah, I think overall pretty good from the defense and special shout out to Prochet. I was texting my buddies before the game. I was like, who is this kid?
Right.
And I thought he played great. Besides maybe 1 or 2, I think he tried to return almost every punt that he caught. And that's just something that I never thought DPJ really wanted to be back there returning. I don't know how much of that was kind of a forced thing, but to me, it never seemed like he really wanted to be in that position. And I don't blame him. I mean, you get smacked in that position a lot.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was also refreshing. I think overall, just a solid win. And you take some momentum moving into Baltimore now versus possibly having to play PJ again or Deshaun playing terrible. And you're like, oh no, what is this team?
Right.
Yeah. Really quickly, Jake mentioned dearly departed DPJ there. What did we think of, the wide receiver room today and just obviously the lack of the receiving game and just kind of the spreading of the ball? Obviously, Amari is going to always get his due. I mean, you just got to toss him the ball and either he's getting PI'd or he's going up and bringing it down. David looks like he's turning it on, Jeff, after, fire pit incident and everything. But, going after that, Elijah doesn't have a great game. He hasn't had, we haven't seen him relatively have a good game or a great game yet. What's his uptick going to be with, no more DPJ? We saw Tillman get a catch out there. We saw Marquise out there. What do we think is going to be the evolution of this, wide receiving room? And are more guys going to get active, or are we going to have another running back, kind of lead the passing game outside of those three guys?
Do you guys know why Tillman isn't getting more playing time? I mean, have they come out and specifically said anything? Because the kid at Tennessee was known for 50-50 balls. Yeah. He's not a burner, but he's got phenomenal technique on his routes, and he can jump in the air and bring it down. I mean, those two to Goodwin, I don't know how much it was Goodwin's speed that got him open, but based on what I saw Tillman do at Tennessee, he's catching both of those balls. I know the second one was a great play by the defender, but I mean, Goodwin's 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. Yep. I just think Tillman's at 6'2", 6'3" is getting both of those.
Goodwin is honestly probably the second best wide receiver on this team as of right now, in my eyes. When you look at if you look at just stats, that wouldn't be true. But if you look at how open he consistently gets on those deep balls, he's beating everyone as of right now in terms of how open he gets. That being said, DPJ was third in, the rotation and with snap count and everything. Marquise was after that, and Tillman was after that. But at 23% for Goodwin and I think 8% for Tillman. It's just tough because I think Kevin's game plan is to spread the ball out as much as possible outside of, Amari, who can get you 100 yards every game. The problem outside of that is we've seen trying to feed a guy like Moore the ball, and you don't get much reward out of it. So I don't know what the holdup is, and I don't know that we would really see any splash from him because of how our offense works. But that being said, I don't know what the answer is behind that.
Honestly, I just think the rest of the season is predicated on, of course, if Deshaun Watson plays, what level of quality of football does Deshaun Watson play? Also attached to that is, how do we get a competent number 2 pass catcher? And I think these last couple of weeks, you saw some experimentation, and maybe why they traded DPJ when they did, because I don't know though. I just think you're putting a lot of faith in Watson playing good, which I think we've seen him be able to do. I think that he can. But also your secondary pass catcher past that is going to be a mix of Njoku, Jerome Ford, and maybe somebody else who has a decent game. I mean, that's really what you saw today. Sure, you score 27 points, but Jerome Ford is your second leading receiver with 33 yards, a down game for Njoku with 26. Everybody else is a non-factor, and those are non-factor numbers anyway. 5 receptions for 33 yards. Those are some, dinks and dunks out of the backfield. Tillman with 1 reception. I don't think he was even targeted more than that. Akins was targeted a couple times, only with 1 reception. So I think that your question mark moving forward is that you're kind of putting a lot of faith into some guys who you are for sure certain you haven't seen them maybe play up to their potential or play at the level you'd like them to play, like an Elijah Moore. Like you said, Jake, we haven't even seen Cedric Tillman this year. Our most recent, highly touted draft pick. He's been healthy scratches, or maybe they've been unhealthy scratches for all we know, actually, for the majority of the year. So who's going to be that even second guy to step up on offense? Because you could really see, these types of games moving forward where it's Amari Cooper and not a whole lot else is working. The running game isn't working. You don't have a secondary wide receiver threat. And Njoku has a couple of plays where you felt like he could have got more yards today, but he got tripped up. Good defensive plays. Tackles were made. If people make tackles against Njoku, he's good, but he's not much better than good. If people make tackles against him, I know we scheme up good plays for him, but if he's great to elite when he could get out in the open space, break tackles, and then use some of his speed. if you see some of these plays that were made against him today, whether it was Buda Baker, whether it was some of the other Cardinals defenders, they kind of kept him in check for a tight end who's been playing pretty good these past couple of weeks. Sure, he has a touchdown, sits down in space, but that's really all you could say for him today. Moving forward, I think that you trust the defense. You take the points when you could take the points, even though I didn't mind the second 4th down attempt today. The first one, I don't know. I'm the jury's out on the first one. How would you grade Kevin Stefanski today, Jake?
Kevin frustrates me sometimes. Then other times, I think, like you said at the beginning of the broadcast, he's doing stuff to set things up later in the game. As much as Browns fans, we all do not want to hear that. I think part of today is you're just getting Deshaun back. I mean, I know I was nervous with him being back. Is it too early? Is he going to come out after 2 series again? What's the ball going to look like? We got a couple clips from practice of him with some velocity, but you just didn't know. I mean, and I don't want to be too hard on a 27-0 win, but probably like a C, and that's probably C plus being generous, but probably right around a C. Like I mentioned, I don't understand some of the stretch runs with Ford, and you can, the pass was open to Akins on the 4th down, but why are you throwing to Akins?
Yeah, like honestly, that's a Harrison. He loves that though. He loves throwing it to Harrison Bryant. He loves throwing it to Akins.
David Bell.
Well, David Bell, I don't even know what his injury is, but not even active today. So definitely a lot going on. But I don't know. The DPJ move.
I don't know. C plus, I think. The DPJ move I get because we weren't going to reset. The thing that hurts about DPJ is if he plays well this year and signs for 12-15, then we're going to get a compensatory pick higher than the 6 that we traded him for. So that's where it hurts. But the way he's trending this year, he's going to be a $4 or $5 million player, and if you're going to get a 6th or a 7th anyway, you might as well just trade for it. So I know fans were upset with the move when you see guys like Chase Young go for I think a 3rd rounder, 2nd rounder that he went for, but I just don't think that there was that many wide receivers. I mean, I had 3 words though: free George Pickens ?
No, absolutely
I know
not.
We don't. I know.
Absolutely not. As someone who has George Pickens rostered on multiple of my fantasy teams, absolutely not. That dude is a wild card. I gotta give Stefanski a little bit better than a C plus today, though, just because he didn't do anything stupid. And that's what you're supposed to do against a bad team like Arizona. Just don't do anything dumb. Make sure that you put your quarterback in situations to hopefully win. Did that for the most part. And then, I think that he made good decisions, most of the way, and decisions that weren't really, not that they mattered a whole lot to the game. I mean, maybe that early 4th down, if the game goes differently, you're like, oh, what is this? But he was kind of in a tough position there. What do you do? Your only other option there is to punt. I don't think Dustin Hopkins I think it was over 60 yards if he was going for it.
You're just talking about having a safe game plan in terms of, trying to get back into, like everyone said, a game that was 100% supposed to be won by us, and something that, you try to build momentum, you try to use to get Watson tuned up and everything. And for Stefanski's sake, I give him a B minus just because, again, like Jeff said, he didn't do anything crazy. He didn't have to do anything crazy. And what he did was, mostly protect Watson and try to just get him back into a flow. So not a bad game, nothing to be upset about, nothing to, really get into.
All right, let's switch over real quick for like 5 minutes.
I do apologize. I will be eating on screen. So
That's fine.
I will mute.
No worries, brother.
Let's just talk Cavs Warriors real quick. Jake, because I just want to hear more of your thoughts about this. Do you feel like there are deeper rooted problems with this Cavs team, or is it just a culmination of different factors that have led to this rough start?
Yeah, and like I mentioned in a couple of my posts, I'm not even so upset that it's a 2-6 start. I partly agree with your take yesterday that the regular season really does not matter, because it doesn't. You saw us. I think we started 8-1 last season and beat the Celtics twice in that span. and it mattered zero when we got to the playoffs. So I think the thing for me that's more frustrating is some of the fundamental stuff. I mean, you have brand new guys. It's going to take some time to learn what the identity is of this team. You've had some injuries as well. Darius and Allen are huge components to this team. I think it's going to take some time for everything to mesh. The thing that frustrates me is some of like the hustle stuff and the fundamental things. I mean, the last 2 minutes of that Pacers game the other night, and say what you will, yes, it doesn't matter, but it is like an in-season tournament game, which again, who cares if you win that championship? That's not what it's about. But you would at least think maybe there's another notch that they would turn. At least I was hoping, especially with everyone back. So I think in the course of the season, we're going to be fine. I just think with Cleveland in general, coming off the way that the Tribe played into the Browns, and then a lot of it is carryover from that more so than I think actual problems with the Cavs or why the fans feel the way they do.
Honestly, I think you hit the nail right on the head there because, like, sure, it's a regular season game, and I made a whole video about it not being a huge deal, but what happens, and not even what happens, how it happens at the end of some of these games, I think does matter as far as what you think this team could do moving forward. Like an Evan Mobley turnover into a Darius Garland turnover the next possession, it's just not going to cut it.
Then you let
forward.
Tyree shoot from the same spot he killed you, on 3 shots in a row nights ago.
Like, that's my issue so far with how we've started this season is that you've seen a semblance, and I think this goes back to last year, like you mentioned, Jake. How we kind of roll into our thoughts from previous seasons or from how the sports teams kind of change over in the city, but you saw a failure to be able to adjust last year in the playoff series, and you've already had 2 instances where you could kind of say it was a mock series matchup where you play New York back to back and you play Indiana, within each, a time period that's shorter, only so many games in between. And where were the adjustments? The New York game, okay, you could have said they made the adjustments here. They won the second game. They showed some grit and grind, were able to persevere. Everyone was tired of that game. Okay, cool. But why am I seeing the same stupid move from Jalen Brunson work every single, time we play them? Well, like you said, why is Halliburton able to get to a spot that he wants to get to? What does the scouting look like for some of these teams that we're playing, and how do we really get ready and have an approach for these games? Because we don't really start necessarily well in some of these games. Took forever in the Indiana game for us to even look like we cared. So that's as far as the existential things, how it's happening, not what's happening, but how it's happening is what's bothering me, if anything.
That Pacers game is such a deflating kind of loss because you go into it and that first half is abysmal from a defensive standpoint. And you
gave up 70.
Yeah. And then
I almost quit watching that half.
Right. And then you come out in the third quarter and have what was and has always been this Cavs defense last year, obviously, where they are just stout for a whole 8 minutes. And then obviously you get into the fourth and it's a battle and whatnot. But man, does that last 2 minutes just absolutely take the wind out of your sails, because both of the occasions of those turnovers from us came from turnovers that we forced on the defensive end. And for the Evan one, him and Garland are streaking down the court, and I believe it's a 2v1. Either we're getting, a Garland layup or we're getting a Mobley alley-oop dunk, and we're taking the lead or extending the lead. And the Garland turnover, again, I don't think they got any points, again, coming back from us turning the ball over. And we get it, and Garland just, errant pass, no thought, no real urgency behind it. And it just completely took away any of the momentum that we had just built with those 2 plays. And so I thought that the defensive adjustment was great coming out of halftime. Offensively, guys were just, again, this is Garland's second game. This is kind of how it went last year, where he kind of stinks to start at the beginning, and he's injured because of it. he comes back, he plays poorly, and now we're going up against a 5-1 Warriors team where like he's got to be on, or we're gonna get smacked in this game, I believe.
Right. Totally agree. So, Jake, who do you got tonight? You got the Cavs pulling it out. You think we show some resilience and defend home court?
I mean, I think there's a chance we're at home, and I think Clay is still listed as questionable from the last time that I checked. Now,
I guess Okoro is a game time decision, is what I'm seeing.
Okay, yeah. That when I checked the injury report earlier, those were the only two on it. It was Clay questionable and Okoro questionable. I don't know, man. I have so much PTSD from Steph Curry. I never think that we're gonna beat the Warriors. So I want to say yes. I think it's a good match. I think specifically tonight's a good matchup at home with the time change and no Clay. It wouldn't surprise me if the Cavs lose a game like the Pacers and then turn around and beat the Warriors. So yeah, let me take Cavs in a defensive game.
Okay, Justin, you said Cavs in our Cavs encapsulated episode earlier this week. You still feeling confident?
I definitely don't feel confident.
He's out.
I'll be honest; it's tough after a game like the Pacers, where I say the season's supposed to start there. You pick up the game against the Knicks, and you're like, hey, you might have some momentum already, and then you just lose it already. This Warriors team looks good, but if Clay's out, gives us a shot for sure. I'll just stick with yes, but we're really going to need to see Garland. We're going to need to see people other than Donovan Mitchell, like Jeff has been saying for how long now. We need to see other people get involved and put up 20, 25, maybe 30, and bail him out a little bit, maybe let him sit on the bench a bit more. So
I'm going to be honest, it's fun, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, total negative. There's no fun, Grinch stole Christmas in this world, because Donovan Mitchell is a unique and fun to watch performer and player and all those things, but it's like just this nasty feeling when he plays so good. Not only when we lose, obviously that makes it worse, but even when we win and the dude is just carrying the team on our shoulders, you just have that sinking feeling in the back of your mind where you're like, this is not sustainable basketball. This is not really something that you can maintain in the playoffs unless you're in the upper echelon of best players to ever touch the basketball, which he's not there yet. Personalized fact. He's not a LeBron James carrying the roster, through all the playoff series and then into the NBA Finals. Can he do that? I think that he could do that for a playoff run, which is the craziest part. But right now, as you saw last year, didn't materialize, not sustainable. You need team basketball. You need Mobley to do what he's been doing as of late, more recently. You need Darius Garland to be the playmaker we know he could be. We need people to make three-pointers when they matter. Karis LeVert, Max Strus, Niang, everybody. It needs to be a team effort if you're going to want to, make tangible strides in the Eastern Conference this year, all the way up through the playoffs. So, Jake, thanks for joining us. Justin, glad you're able to hop on. What's for dinner, Justin? What are you eating?
I got some lamb chops here, a chicken, some Brussels sprouts with bacon.
Winner chicken dinner. Browns dominate.
Chicken dinner.
27-0. We got 60 minutes for the Cavs tip off, just about 6 p.m. game at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We appreciate everyone for coming out to the live stream. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, comment down below.
Way to go, running it for 55 minutes as always.
Shout out, huge crossover stream. Not many opportunities where Cavalier fans get to be able to execute twice on one day. With that all being said, catch you guys in the next one. We appreciate you being the pulse of it all. Go Browns, go